Welcome back to another edition of Atop the Pit Box here on the Podium Finish and the Podium Finish Live. Rob Tiongson here, and I'm pleased to welcome back crew chief of the number 5 HendrickCars.com Chevrolet Camaro ZL1, Cliff Daniels, of course, championship winning crew chief, and he's going for his second one this year, folks. So before we get started, Cliff, I know you've got a busy weekend ahead, but how are you doing?
Yeah, we're doing okay. It's been a good start to the playoffs for us. Had some good results and left a little bit on the table that we wanted some more. But the team's been doing great. Everybody on our HendrickCars.com Chevy has just been working hard. All the great folks at Hendrick Motorsports giving us great race cars. And yeah, with a little bit of momentum that we have right now, we're focused on just keeping it going. Obviously, this next round is a tough round, but I think we're ready.
I think so too. And as I said to Kyle recently, it's just incredible that you guys had this average finish of 2.33 in the round of 16. I joked to him yesterday, I was like, yeah, you could do the same thing again this round, but obviously it's not that easy with these tracks, right?
Yeah, and really nothing is easy come playoff time in the Cup Series. Um, while we're very pleased and grateful for the results that we had in the round of 16, I can't help but look at Kansas and think that we kind of gave that one away a bit, and that was really my fault with the call to stay out on 10 lap tires when we should have pitted, and that kind of really flipped our race around. So I do think there was a little bit more on the table for us. But to your point, looking ahead, man, the round of 12 is tough. Texas is a tough place. Talladega, such a wild card, and even the Roval. The Roval is a great race. I think it's a great race for the fans, great race for the competitors, but it is tough, and so many different things can happen there. So, we enjoy the challenge ahead of us, and certainly got to make sure we're buttoned up and ready to go.
As I like to say, when you're having to look forward to something, man, they're making you work really hard to get to the weekend. And this is what the round of 12 is all about, because as you mentioned, we have unique racetracks. We'll start off Texas, actually, which is where we're going to next. And drivers I've talked to this week have said, it's a really distinct track. You have turns 1 and 2 where you break a little bit, and then they try to hold it wide open in turn 3 and 4. For you as a crew chief, what makes Texas such a difficult track to prepare for?
Yeah, I think since they reconfigured Texas, I believe it was going into 2017. The track every year seems to add its own few new characteristics just because of age. The aggregate of the asphalt is getting a little bit older, so there's just a little bit less grip than what goes by year. The pavement continues to settle a little bit into the foundation of it, and so the bumps get a little bit bigger each year. Plus, to your point, just the unique layout where turns 1 and 2 is a lot tighter radius, a lot flatter banking angle than 3 and 4 is a lot bigger turn radius with a lot more banking. So your car setup is pretty unique for Texas as compared to some other standard mile and a half type racetracks. So it's a challenge to get both ends right. Certainly makes for an exciting race. I think Texas has probably gotten a bad rap for not having exciting racing, and it's hard to pass. But I think now that the track has a little bit more character to it, and some years have gone by since the repave, I think it presents a great all around mix of what it takes to be good there, and it's really easy for the teams and crew chiefs to get one aspect of the track right. Your car can be really good in 1 and 2, and then you're too loose in 3 and 4, or you can be really good in 3 and 4, and then you're actually too tight in 1 and 2. And I think just that dynamic of kind of mixing up, both ends and the challenge of trying to get your balance right presents pretty good racing. So honestly, we're looking forward to the weekend. We know it's going to be a challenge, but Texas it's a fun place. We like it.
And it shows in your track record since you've worked with Kyle. You have to win in 2021, both times actually, with the All Star race, and then of course the fall race. And then last year you got a ninth place finish. Could have been better, but it was kind of an eventful race. So you have that baseline working for you. But then Goodyear brings this new element of a different tire compound, which y'all have not seen yet this year. So how much of that is a curveball for you guys when you look at your notes, especially with the next gen car, and you're going, Kyle, we have a different tire compound, so I need you to take care of these tires. Is that going to be a factor as well?
Well, it's actually the same tread compound. So the compound is the same, with the rubber that meets the road is the same. It is a much different construction though. And we spent a lot of time this week trying to get educated on the differences in the construction. There was a team, a team in Goodyear Tire Tests that I want to say the 11, the 22, and the 99 went to. So we have just a little bit of notes from that, kind of for the industry. Then there was a an OEM wheel force test where Chevrolet did a great job of going to execute that test. So we have a little bit of information on the track now with this tire. It's still not the same as what it's going to be like when we get there, with all the cup cars and the speeds that we're going to run, and obviously the margins that you kind of have to work within to be fast. So it is different. It is a little bit of a curve ball, trying to make sure that we understand that really well. But it's going to be the same for everyone, even the guys that got to be there during the test. We heard about those track conditions and what they were, which, in all honesty, are going to be a bit different track conditions than what we're going to see this weekend. So, again, like I've said, we're looking forward to the challenge from just another year of age on the track, plus the different tire construction that we have on the right side tire. And we've just got to be a student of the game as the weekend goes, make the right adjustments on the car, and just take it as it comes.
Just got to roll with the punches, because if you do that, then you can pretty much prepare for anything that comes your way, which has been the MO for the number 5 team, I would say, since you and Kyle worked together. And wouldn't surprise me to see you guys running towards the front of the field this weekend. And one of the things I think that's made you guys work so well, especially since last year, is we have a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years now with this next gen car. How have you and your number 5 team been preparing for these fleet of cars that you now have compared to last year when we had the parts shortage situation going on?
Yeah, I think just having to your point, the experience under our belt of working with the car now, and there's a lot of collective intelligence within the 4, Hendrick cars in our stable, plus all the folks that are working, all day, every day to try to, further our understanding and continue to squeeze the juice of speed, for our cars. And just overall, I think we have to look as much at the things that we've done wrong over the year and a half with the next gen car, as much as we look at the things that we did right. The unfortunate part of competition is if you do it right, when you fail, you can learn just as much from when you fail as when you win or when you have a great day. So we've tried to be very self-aware and very you know studious to trends of the car, trends of the tracks, trends of development that we've seen, to make sure that we're learning at the right pace and we're growing at the right pace. And like I mentioned, there are certainly wins along the way of growing, and those are great. And you have to, you really have to make sure you capture within a win or within a good weekend what you did well. But it's equally as important to capture, things that you do wrong. And when you do fail, when you do miss the setup or the balance or whatever it may be, race strategy, making sure you pull away from that, the value of the miss, and make sure you just increase your knowledge and understanding of what it's going to be, the next time you encounter that. So that's kind of been our mindset. Since the new car came along, we had high expectations for ourselves. We realized along the way that we weren't going to be perfect every week, and we just try to continue to improve on our process, the way we communicate, the way we understand the car and ourselves, every week. And really proud of all the guys on the team. We're a pretty young group overall. Got some young engineers, young mechanics, but for as young as we are, there's so much talent on our team. And of course, Kyle himself, he's just into his 30s. His talent speaks for itself, but the way that he's executing races and understanding what he needs out of the car, he's very mature in that. And so there's a lot of value in having all of the youth on our team, plus the talent, and couple that with the experience that we're getting now. Everyone's doing a great job.
It just sounds like there's a lot of positive energy that goes around the campus and even at the race weekends and in the pits or in the garage area. It just seems like that's what has been the keys to success for you guys, and that kind of leads me to my next question here, Cliff, because I feel like you've mentioned how Kyle's only in his 30s, but yet he's so mature when it comes to car feedback and just letting you know what to do to make it better. I've got to ask you, with all the drivers you've worked with, what has made you and Kyle work well and click the way you guys have been doing since you guys met together or together in 2021?
Yeah, I think both of us just have a very pure passion for racing. The way that we both see what it takes to compete very similarly. He's very critical of himself, but in a healthy way, in a way of always learning to get better. I'm very critical of myself in a healthy way of always learning to get better. And then we both are okay with holding each other accountable. Like there's times where the car's off and hey man, we're like, this just isn't what I need. He'll tell me that. That's okay. That's good. I understand that. And I value that honesty from him. And then likewise, if I think he's made a mistake or we need to approach a set of turns differently than what may be natural for him, and we need to work on his line, and then work the car to pair with that adjustment. He's okay with that honesty from me as well. So just the way that we kind of see our own attack for the way I lead the team and the way I'm trying to help the team set up the car for him and the way that he's leading himself for what he wants to have out of the car and the way that he wants to drive the car. There's a lot of trust in that. There's a lot of great communication in that. It's not always easy, but it shouldn't be. To compete at a high level, it's not going to be easy, and you have to challenge each other, which we do. And I think that always brings about just a really healthy, very grounded energy between the two of us where, I'm not going to walk around and be like, oh yeah, our car's great just because Kyle Larson's going fast in it. I've been around long enough to know that part of the reason our car goes fast is because we have Kyle Larson in it. So then it kind of doubles down on my responsibility to make sure that we're giving someone like him and giving him everything that we can to give him what he needs because he has so much talent to showcase, when he has a car that drives good. And we own that. I own that as the leader of the team and the crew to get it right. And so, without being redundant on myself of what I'm saying, I think just a lot of that chemistry, a lot of our communication, our trust and our approach is what keeps us going. It's what has gotten us to this point, and certainly going to carry us in the future.
I like that you described the synergy between yourself and Kyle, and it's really good that you guys hold each other accountable. But it also means that when you guys have the good days, you can both celebrate it and know it was a collaborative effort. It wasn't because of one individual over the other. And that's kind of a key thing that we see in sports, like the Chicago Bulls back in the day with Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan. So the way you described that, I felt like I was listening to a head coach talking about the Bulls dynasty of the 90s, which is so cool to hear. But the thing that's also interesting too is there are times I'm sure, Cliff, that you have to motivate Kyle, sometimes motivate the pit crew when they've made a mistake. Say if Kyle hit the wall in turn 4 at running so high, or the pit crew may have had a slow pit stop. How important is it to motivate the troops around you, even if you feel the same way that they do?
Yeah, I think some of it for me naturally. I have a very intense personality. Kyle makes fun of me for it, and that's okay. And the team gets to pick on me about it. But with having a group that is, we have, again, like I said, we have a lot of youth on our team, and with the youth, we have a lot of talent on our team. The way I see it, it's okay for me to have the intense personality of holding us to a high standard and holding us to an expectation that we have of ourselves, because there's a lot of collective buy-in from our team of setting the standard of meeting our own standards of how we compete. And when you have a group that is assembled together with a very like mindset, very high expectations, and very high potential, that's a great combination. And so it's my job to kind of foster that with all of them. Even when I get made fun of for being too intense or whatever it is, I've learned to be comfortable with that. I've learned to be comfortable with the guys giving me a hard time of how seriously I take things, or how intense I can be about things. But I think they also respect that, and I certainly have to hold myself accountable to doing what's right for the collective good of the team and for the individuals. And when you handle teammates on an individual level, it does take a different approach per person, and that's where I've kind of had to evolve as a person and as a leader, to make sure I'm there and I'm, um, being a good mentor and a good leader to each individual and to the collective good of the team. And through that comes a lot of respect that we have for each other. Comes a lot of trust. Um, and look, we still get to have fun of making fun of each other, through some of these moments. And on the backside of a tough moment or a tough situation where, I've done something wrong or Kyle's done something wrong, made a mistake, the picker's made a mistake, whatever it may be, we absolutely have the tough conversations. And then a couple hours later, we're kind of able to poke fun at each other, through what some of that is. And I think there's a lot of growth in that. There's a lot of growth in the honest, difficult conversations, but still knowing that, we have the camaraderie, we have the relationship within our team, and kind of the family vibe within our team that, hey, we're still all in this together. There may have been a mistake, there may have been a miss, whatever it is, but we're going to be men and talk about it and be tough. And on the backside of it, we're going to be stronger because of it. So, we try to keep that mindset and keep it fresh and keep it healthy and keep it moving. And certainly if it weren't for, for Kyle, for the great guys on our pit crew, on our road crew, shop crew, all the guys that make up the 5 team, that are very high character individuals, very high talent individuals, a lot of energy. If it weren't for what that collective group is, we wouldn't have the culture that we have. We wouldn't have the potential that we have. And that's not just because of me. And that's not just because of Kyle. It's not just because of any individual. We just overall have a great group. And that's a lot of fun to be a part of.
The cohesion that you describe, I think you just said the one word that caught my attention, family, because some folks in sports say, oh, that's a crock when people say that you can have families in sports. But the way you described that, I was like, man, you guys sound like a great unit of brothers who work together. And I love hearing that. It just seems like you guys are willing to go to battle with each other. You win it together, you grow from the tough times, and that's what makes you guys so strong, not on with the race cars, but with as an organization and the whole roster as well. That's really empowering to hear, Cliff. It's so cool to know that for sure. I think one other intangible that I've never brought up with you is the factor of Mr. H. And I've been curious about this over the years with you. What's been the most important or best advice that Mr. H has given to you since you've joined the Hendrick organization?
There are so many positive qualities that Mr. H embodies every single day. I don't know that we have time in this conversation for me to cover all of them. I think that kind of goes without saying, but there's a couple that I could speak on. The one thing that Mr. Hendrick really conveys to his people more than anything else is that we are a family of Hendrick Motorsports. We're going to treat each other that way with, the respect, the trust, the honesty. Of course, it's part of life and it's part of competition. That there are going to be mistakes, there's going to be friction, there's going to be pain and growth, but through that, that's when you really have to embrace who we are as a family of Hendrick Motorsports, embrace each other, know that we're all wearing the same badge on our shirt. And that's where you come out of those difficult, challenging times, adversity, so to speak, where you come out stronger. And that's what holds the potential within our company, within the great people of our company, to go do great things. And Mr. Hendrick talks about that really all the time, that it's going to take all of us. We're all in this together. We're going to be a family together. We're going to work together. And there's nothing that's going to stop us from working together, no matter what, on track thing may happen between 2 teammates, or what crossword somebody may say at the shop or after a race. We're going to talk through it. We're going to handle it, like professionals and like a family. We're going to be better because of it. And we're just going to keep moving forward. That is such an important overarching, quality of mindset that Mr. Hendrick, brings to the company that's so important. And then another one that, is kind of twofold to me. There's 2 different parts here. One of it is he talks a lot about servant leadership, making sure that, the crew chiefs, the company managers, we're always looking out for the folks that are doing the work, that are grinding the hours, doing all the little things that it takes to put special race cars on track and to really operate at a special high level. We have a responsibility as leaders to make sure we're catering to that. And then with that comes a dose of humility. He said it like this before. Um, when you're winning, you're not as good as you think you are. And when you're losing, you're not as bad as you think you are. That's a pretty healthy mindset to kind of keep you grounded, right? To know that, hey, when we're winning, there's always room to improve. There's an element of humility that needs to come with that. But when you're losing, don't get too dejected. Don't get too down on yourself or down on your people, right? There's always a healthy mindset to kind of keep the extremes in check. And that is directly from Mr. Hendrick's leadership and the messages like that he conveys to us. So when I think about what he teaches us and what he brings to us, all the time here at Hendrick Motorsports, those are the things that I just mentioned that really stand out. And honestly, it's a blessing to be part of. It's a blessing to have a leader like that is so good to his people, empowers his people so much, gives us so much flexibility to work within team building and growth, knowing that there's going to be mistakes along the way, but we know that if we make a mistake, one time or two times, that he's not just going to come block us up on upside of the head. He's going to help us grow through that. Of course, you can't continue to make the same mistakes and grow, but he's always going to be there to help us grow. And there's a lot of that Hendrick family mindset, the way we all work together, that's so critical to that.
I really like that, what he said, and it sounds like it's about having an even keel mindset is what I took away from that. And it just goes to show that he's been able to impart that so that you can tell your folks that you work with about what you've learned and what they've heard, and everybody can work as one, not as individuals thinking out over each other, which is that's what makes a good team, Cliff. And I think that's why you guys are so successful with all the teams throughout these years. I'm gonna ask you for my last question, and not to put you on the spot, like my friend, but what would it mean for you if you could win your second career Cup Series championship as a crew chief, knowing that it's the 75th anniversary season of NASCAR?
Great question. I understand why you want to ask the question. I think just being a little bit of an old school racer, I always have a little bit of superstition of talking about things in advance. So I'm not going to. And we'll see how the year plays out. I'll make you a
That's
deal.
it.
If
Okay.
if the year plays out a certain way, I will be happy to answer the question if that were the case.
That's fair. No, I totally respect that. I kind of think of what Ray Evernham would feels like when like a reporter like me would talk to him on the last lap. He's like, no cameras, no microphones. Just let me. I get it. It's like a perfect game. Don't talk about it.
There it is.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Well, Cliff, before I let you go, and I had a great time talking to you again. Do you have anything you want to say to the fans of the number 5 team and to the fans at the podium finish?
Yeah, I mean, first, I just want to thank you for having me on here. I know you've had Kyle on here before, and you always do a great job of talking to folks in the racing industry. So thank you for what you do and kind of showcasing this to the fans. And then it's been really special for us lately as time has gone by to be with Kyle and to be with the 5 team. There are so many fans that we see at the racetrack that are wearing the 5 gear, the 5 swag, always stopping by to say hi. We are so appreciative of that because to be in the sport, I think a fundamental understanding of being part of the sport is that the fans are the lifeblood of the sport. If it weren't for the fans, then what we do just isn't possible. And at the end of the day, we have a job working on race cars and working in racing, which is just a dream come true in itself. But so much of that is driven from and led by the fans. So genuinely, thank you to all the 5 team supporters and all the NASCAR fans, even if you don't like the 5 team. Thank you for supporting our sport because that is what lets us do what we love doing and get to be a part of it, which is pretty special, and we never take that for granted. So thanks to you, thanks to all the fans.